Today's daf is Nedarim, Daf Lamed Gimel. We are 5 lines from the bottom on Daf Lamed Beis. In this parak, we're going to discuss someone that becomes Asar B'Hana, because his friend makes him Asar B'Hana. So there's basically 2 ways you could ask somebody B'Hana. Either you could ask something that you own on him, your assets, or you could ask your guf B'Hana on somebody else. And then there's 3 oifanim of heter. Basically, there is, if you don't actually give the person anything, you're just holding it back from getting a loss. So is that considered a hana? Another way is if the person's mekayim a mitzvah, so maybe he's not being, maybe that's not hana. And the third way is if you're only a goyrim for hana, which is it's indirect, and you're not mahana a person Nedarim. So Zakta Mishnah now, let's get into it. The only difference when you moider hana from somebody, when you ask hana and you moider meichel food, is only drusis regel. Can the guy take a shorka on your property? So if you moider menu meichel food, so property is not related, so you can take a shorka on your property. The kalim and kalim that you do not use for food. So in that case, we mutter to if he made the neder was only for meichel. Zakt the Mishnah, Hamudar Meichel Mechaver. Somebody asks on his friend food. Well, the hana of Meichel. Le'ashilenu nafa. You should not lend him a sifter for his flour or kvara, some sort of sifter also for his wheat, v'reichayim, or a grinder for his chitin. V'tanur and a bread to bacon. Food. However, he could lend him a ring, a nose ring, or a talis, which is not related to anything related to food. Zakta Gemara, Man Tana. Who's this Tana in the Mishnah that asers, if somebody asers himself on his friend, someone asks himself on his friend that it would be usher in Drisis Regel. So who's the man that holds is such a small hana, even if walking in a guy's property, which people are not makbid on, who's the one that holds that he's not allowed to even have such a small hana? Amar B'Adar B'Ahava, or it's Rebbe Lezer. The Tanya Rebbe Lezer says, Afilu Viter. Usher B'Mudar hana. Even Viter, which is that little extra thing of getting a shorkan on his property, is asura meidarna when he's meidarna from the meicher, because it's considered a matana, and therefore that would be the sheet in the Mishnah that holds that someone that's meidarna mechavera is asur even in drisis regel, because it's considered ana. That's what you see Rebbe Lezer holds. Zakti Gemara, the Mishnah said, if somebody asks his friend Michael, he should not lend him utensils which are used to prep food. What do you mean? He only asked him enough from things that are related to food. It's not talking about that he said kainim Meichel, he'd just say food. He said hanas machacha, things that bring hana to food, olai. And since he added the word hanas, it's going on the hanois, which are goyim, to make the food also, like tools or equipment that's used to prep food. Zakti Gemara ema. Maybe when his kavana when he said hanas machacha, who said it was for tools that are used to prep food? Maybe it's maybe it was coming to include that he should not chew wheat or put it on his wounds. So it's not mamish meichel, but it's still getting hana from meichel. Maybe that's what he meant. Who said he meant foods that are used to prep, equipment that's used to prep food? He didn't just say hana smeichel, having hana from food. He said hana that brings to food, alai, which is literally saying kalim that are used to prep food, because that's what brings to food. Amar Papa says, Sak lahavi peris, if it's a sack to use for fruit, v'chamor lahavi olav pears, or a donkey to haul fruits, v'afilu tzana ba'alma, or if maybe it was just stam a basket, hana mevil l'dei meichel, that's considered zakrav, hana it brings l'dei meichel. Boy Rav Papa clears a shayla zakti Gemara. If sus lirkav alav tabas l'raspa, if a guy asks hana on his friend from this hanas meichel, hana mevil l'dei meichel, and the moider asks from the madir, can I borrow your horse or your ring because I want to look like a chashuv guy? I just when I show up to the Beis HaMishta, they'll give me a nice extra large portion. What is the halacha? Means is that considered a hana or not? Because it's getting him a bigger portion and food related. Mifsak umezel ba'arei. What happens if he asks the mother, can I bypass your rishus in order to get to the Beis HaMishta? So is that considered, what's the halacha for Rav Papa? Rav Papa's clearing, is that considered, are these hanois considered mevila de meichel, or only things that are related to the actual guf of the meichel, like prepping it and bringing it from place to place? But these things that are just getting a person step closer to meichel, he's going to somebody else's Beis HaMishta, and then mainly he's getting more food, so it's not mamish, he's not mamish. We're not talking about on the food itself. It's not like the food is here and we're prepping it. It's just things that are getting him closer to a portion of food. Is that considered that he's not having enough from Michael just because there's food involved in the big picture? So Gemara Tashma, I'll bring you a raya, because the Mishnah says at the end of the Mishnah, Aval Mashal lo yichalak v'talis and zam v'tabois. If he makes a neder on Michael, Hanam v'yodei Michael, and he wants to lend to him his shirt, his talis, or his rings, that's Mishnah said. The Mishnah said it's okay. So Gemara Heichi Dami. What's it talking about this case? Ile mashaloi le rois behen. If it's talking about that he wants to borrow from the madir, not because he just wants to. So if you say it's talking about it, he didn't want to borrow this guy's clothes and rings to look good and get a big portion by a Beis HaMishta. So do you have to tell me it's mutter? Why shouldn't it be mutter? There's no connection to food whatsoever. Elalav. I feel Rosben. Maybe the Mishnah come telling a chiddush that even if he wants to be Rosben, he wants to get a good portion of Beis HaMishta. You see, it's mutter to a mashal, so maybe that's the chiddush of the Mishnah. It's mutter to somebody that's moeder no, and these hanos, because it's kind of like indirect. Zakti Gemara loy la'olam shloy rasbam. I'll tell you that the Mishnah is talking about the only reason why he borrowed it is because he wants to see it. So l'chayr, what's the chiddush? L'chayr, it's pashat that it's mutter. It's not related to food at all. So the Gemara, Aidik Tani, so why do you have to tell it to me? Aidik Tani Reisha Lo Yashalenu, because it's said in the Reisha Lo Yashalenu Legabi Napa V'Kiver, Tani B'Seif also Mashilo Legabi Cholak V'Tabas. So you have no right to Rav Papa's Shaila in the case where the Hana is indirect, if it's mutter or not. Zakta Mishnah Vayter, and the next Mishnah is kind of a continuation where it's saying things that one will be also in. A moider would be also with when the madir answers him from Michael. So Zakta Mishnah, anything that is not Eichel Nefesh is still going to be aser in Makam Shemaskir and Kiyotze Behen. So in a place where it's available to rent, so says the Mishnah, even in a case where it's kelim that are not oichel nefesh, still makam shemaskirin kiyotzim and aser. In a place where they rent these kelim, so now, if I rented the kelim, I would have to pay for it. But now that I'm borrowing from this guy, I'm getting it for free. Now I have extra money. I can buy food with that money. In that case, it will be aser to borrow those kelim from him because he's giving me an indirect hana that is going towards my supply of food. So therefore it will be aser, although the kelim are not used to prep food. Very interesting halacha. Zok the Gemara, Machlal. So you see from this. Zok the Gemara. You see from this, from the fact, the Gemara's Mashma in the Reisha, which was the last Mishnah, the very last Mishnah that we had. What did the Reisha say? The Reisha said that if someone's Moida no talking about Kalim if he's Moida no on Michael, so the Mishnah said, what did the Mishnah say? What's halacha? He's also usher on Kalim that are prepped for Michael, equipment, tools. So Afal Pisheim Askirit. So the Mishnah said that he's usher even on tools that are prepped for food, even though they do not rent those out. How does the Gemara know that? Why? Because if they are renting out those tools, then you're not allowed to. If they're renting out those tools, then stamaza, you're never allowed to rent. The few what the Mishnah is saying over here, then come to us, you're never allowed to lend the guy who you might not know against any tools that they rent out, because the Mishnah says if you're saving him that money that he would have to pay to rent out, and that alone is giving the guy money that maybe he could go buy food with, he could go buy a piece of pizza. So Muzah, and it's talking about the Mishnah before, that they don't even rent out those kalim. Why don't they rent them out? So the Gemara's understand they don't rent them out because they don't have so much value. If there would be value in it to rent it out, people would need it. It would be the man, then they would rent it out. So the Gemara wants to know, who's this man da Amar that holds, Mantana, that holds that such a clean izach, you not even lend a guy thing to make himself prep food. They don't even rent out these kalim. They're giving such a minute hana. What's the problem? He could find anybody. Apparently, he could find other people to lend him that thing also. So mechates is really giving him a hana. So the Gemara, it's Takar Belezer that says Viter the Mekach is Aser, like the Gemara said before, even though it's not considered a hana that's chosh of anything. It's a klein izach. But there is a chacham that hold that it's argued that they argue and say it's mutter. In the case then, and there'll be matter or napa and a kibra, which are tools to prep food, even in a place where they're not masking them, that he also be mutter. But our Mishnah about is going that Viter is also like a Belezer, and like the Gemara said before, and the Gemara is just now reinforcing that Nekuda, that the Mishnah is Rebbe Lezer. So the Tosfos says that why do you have to say it twice? Before the Gemara said the guy reduces a regal, it's going like Rebbe Lezer, Viter's mutter, Viter's aser. So it's saying that I might think that before it's talking about a chatzar, maybe people on makbid you shouldn't go into the chatzar. So maybe even the chacham that hold normally Viter's mutter, maybe they would hold that maybe the Mishnah over there is even going like the chachamim, and they would hold it's aser. Because people are makbid, you shouldn't walk on their chatzar. So that's when the Gemara over here is coming and telling you, no, the Mishnah is dafka Belezer, and the Chacham would taka argue, the Chacham would taka hold that it's mutter such a klein hana. Zokt the Mishnah weiter. Now the Mishnah is going to list hanois which are mutter to something that's moider hana. Hamoider hana mudar hana mechaveroi shoikel loy as shikloi. If somebody asks a friend on him, then the madir is shoikel shikla. He's allowed to give for him a machzor shekel, which is chayav to give to the Beis Hamikdash. And he's allowed to pay off the madir is allowed to pay off the chayav of the meider, the one that he made the nether on. He's allowed to return to him his aveda, because he's not giving him something from him. He's giving him something that someone found, and someone in this, wherever there was found Aveda, but it's not something from the Madir, he's just returning it to him. But Makom Shenoit La'aleh Sachar, if it's a place where they charge for Hashavas Aveda, for instance, If the guy that returned Aveda was a smatal memalach, he was in the middle of work and he lost money, so Allah is he allowed to take money? He's allowed to charge. Tipol hana lehektish. Allah is he's not allowed to take any money, the madir. Rather, he should give the hana, the money of the hana, to hektish. So even if the madir says, you know what, I'm not going to charge him, so still he's not allowed to do that because of the fact if he's meichel the fee from being vatam lachti to return the aveda, then he's giving a hana to the meider, so that's a problem. So rather, what should he do? Tipal hana lehektish stuck the Mishnah. The Mishnah saying eitzah, the mei hana which he's supposed to give him, which the meider is supposed to give the madir for returning his aveda, he should give it to hektish. Zakti Gemara. The Mishnah said, he's allowed to be shekel peres chayve. Zakti Gemara, Alma, we see, from the fact that the Mishnah was matir from moed peres chayve, avruchi ariba Alma, we see, it's only like havrocha sari. It's only like chasing away a lion that should not be mazik behemoth's field, v'shari, and therefore it's mutter, because it's not giving him anything when he's Pereya Chayver, rather it's just like he's holding back a hefsid. So since he's not really giving anything, it's only he's holding back a loss, so the Mela he's allowed to be Pereya Chayver. That's what Gemara is saying, you see. The Gemara Mantano, who's this Tana Taka holds being Pereya Chayver is considered Havrocha Sari, that you're just saving him from a loss. Amar Paishia, Zudere Chanan, that is the words of Chanan, that holds that being the Salik about Chayv from a person, from the one that's chayiv, the chayiv is not considered hana. Mela it's mutter for the madir to pay off the chayiv of the meider. But there is apparently this cholkum on dan chanan, and there's a bnei kahanim gedolim that hold that hana of priyas chayiv is considered hana gemura, and it's taka aser. Rava says another explanation in the Mishnah. Afilu teima divrei hakol. You could even say the Mishnah is going divrei hakol, and it's taka not avrocha sari. So why in the Mishnah why is it mutter? The yalav almanash shaloi lafraya. The reason why it's mutter for the madir to pay off the chayiv of the meider because it's talking about that the malva gave money almanas shaloi lafraya. So what does that mean? He basically, Malva said, I'm lending you money, but you don't have to pay me back. If you want, you can pay me back. So in that case, the loiva doesn't have a noah from paying him back because he could, for the same price, he could just not pay him back anything. He won't lose any money. So in that case, everyone's moida, even the Kahanim Gendolim that holds not a brachas ari, they were masking in this case that there is no hana to the loiva because he wasn't chayav to pay. Zog the Gemara, my chanan. Where do we find the shittas chanan that says Pereya Chayv is Havrochas Ari? The Tanah, we learned in the Mishnah Ksubas Daf Kavazayin and Beis. Misha halach Medinas Hayam. Somebody went to Medinas Hayam and he did not leave over mizaynis to feed his wife, which he's chayiv to give his wife. He's obligated, but he went to Medinas Hayam, went overseas, and he didn't leave any money over. So what do we do? And who adin zak the Marat chayiv if he's here and he's not feeding his wife? What do you do? So somebody got up and he was mefarnas his wife. He fed her without anybody asking to, without the husband asking to. And the wife wasn't makabel but as a loan. She just accepted it. She took the food and she was fed, and this random person took care of her, a third person. So Chanan Amar says, Ibis Ba'isov. This guy who gave him the money loses his money, and he cannot be teveh from the Baal, since he did not give him anything. He didn't give the Baal anything, just he was mavriach, an ari, so to speak. He was mavriach from the Baal, the taviyah, the collection that the Isha could come and take mezainis, asking for mezainis. The Bnei Kahanim Gedolim argued on this that Chanan says, and he said, Yishava, the mafarnis, this third person, this third party, should swear, Kama Haitzi, V'yidon should take his expenses from the husband. Why? Because this havracha of Tviyas Isha, that's considered a hana chashuva, that is chayiv mammon, and he deserves to get reimbursed from the Baal. Amram Doisa ben Harkinas b'Devrayim Kidivreim. Doisim and Hakana said Kidivreim, like the words of Nedarim Gedolim, and it's not a brachas in such a case, and rather the Mefarnes has a right to get reimbursed from the husband because it's considered Hana Chashuva. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Yafar Mechananan. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said Fakir. He said Chanan said that Brachas Ari is good. Why? Because in Niach Moisal Karnat Tzvi, it's considered like he put his money on the horn of a deer. What does that mean? Because a deer runs very easily, and somebody that puts their money on the horn of a deer, they know they'll never reach it because deer just takes off just like that and runs really quickly and is always moving. And he knows they'll never be able to catch it. It runs too quick. So when someone comes and feeds the guy's wife, when the husband goes into this yam, if you're feeding the wife, you're never going to see that money again. Zak the Gemara, Rava le'amar Rav Hoshia. Rava that says that the Mishnah is divrei hakol, Saichan and Sabin Akadelim, is not saying like Rav Hoshia that says that the Mishnah is only Chanan. The Kamukum lo, Masli saying divrei hakol. Rava does not say like Rav Hoshia because he's that's not the Mishnah divrei hakol. Rav Hoshia le'amar Karava. Hoshia does not say like Rava that the Mishnah is Chanan because Gezerah shloi li para mishum li para. Yes, Zak Gemara. The reason why Rav Hoshia doesn't say like Rava that says that he could even say divrei hakol, and it's Rava made a kimda and said it's talking about that he gave the Malva gave the labor money on Manashle Lafraya. He doesn't have to pay back, so therefore it's not considered a no. He's allowed to pay it off. Zak the Gemara. Rav Hoshia did not say like that because he held because the Gezerah shaloi lepara mishum lepara. Because even in the case where the Malva said you don't have to pay me back, we're not going to let this person pay off the Madir. Because we're afraid in the case where the Malva did not tell that to the Leiva, and it actually is Ana, we're afraid even in that case, the Madir is going to go ahead and be over on his nether and pay off and give the Leiva Hana and be over on his nether. Zakt de Gemara. The Mishnah said, if somebody's made a Chaveroi, he's allowed to be Machzele Avedasai. Pligi bar of Ami Veravasi. There is a machlokes of Ami Veravasi. Chadam lo yishtanu ela b'shenichsei machzir asun al bal aveda. One of them says that the halacha of the Mishnah that it's mutter b'meisha aveda is only in a case where the nechasim of the machzir is asurin on the bal aveda, and the heter is chimaderle midam denafshei kamahadale. And when the heter why he's allowed to do it is because when he's giving him back his aveda, he knows that he's giving him back something that belongs to him. Meaning, even though the chasim of the moitzi aveda are asar on the person who lost avera, but he knows he's not giving something from his own money. He's only giving something that was originally his, but he lost it. So that's considered mavriach alav. He's just being mavriach the damage of the aveda, meaning you lost aveda. I'm just keeping that away from you. You shouldn't lose something. I'm not actually giving you anything. But in the case when it's the opposite, that the person that lost aveda, his nechasim are aser on the one that found it, loy kamahader, then the halach is he's not allowed to give it back to him. Why? The kamahani lay pruta of Yosef. Oh, what's pruta of Yosef? Because the halacha is when a guy finds aveda, there's a din oisik mitzvah patron mitzvah. So if ani comes and is collecting money, then the halacha is he's patur to give a pruta ta'ani that's asking for tzedakah. Why? Because oisik min mitzvah patron mitzvah. That's the shita of Rabbi Yosef. Because he holds that so kamdois he's giving him that hana of Puter Rabbi Yosef, that which he would be pater with. So therefore, in that case, he's not allowed to return the moitzi aveda is not allowed to return the aveda to the one that lost the aveda. In that case, so that's what one manamar says. The other manamar says, "Afilu nichse bal aveda asur al machzir ma'adalei." Even in the case where the nechasim of the bal aveda, the one that lost it, is aser on the machzir. Still, he's allowed to give it back. And l'chayr, what do you mean? He's the guy that found Aveda. He's gaining that he has pruder of Yosef. Now he's putting him on his tzedakah. So the Gemara, Mishum pruder of Yosef leishchiach. It's not a shchiach thing. It's not something that you really find. That exact second where you're finding out Aveda, a guy comes and asks if it's tzedakah. It's not shchiach. So therefore, it's mutter for the motzei Aveda, even though the nechasim of the ma'abid, the one that lost it, are usher on the motzei Aveda bahano, it's mutter for him to return it.